everybody, it's Ian the Off Kilter Crafter.
And I'm Sew Becca, and spoiler alert, Mary's here.
She is!
I know, she got here yesterday.
I know.
Like a crazy person. She left at 3 a.m.
I don't know why she does that to herself.
Because she loves me so much, she can't wait to see me.
I mean, it's true. It is true.
I mean, who doesn't love me? Okay. There was silence. I didn't like that.
I'm just kidding. I'm totally kidding with you.
Anywho, so today we want to talk a little bit about quilt retreats. And I think the reason why we want to talk about that is because when this drops, we're actually going to be at the lake, which is fun. So before we get into it, let me just ask you, Ian, you have never been to a quilting retreat.
I have not.
What do you think a quilting retreat is, and what would be your expectations for what you would experience while you were at one?
So, from what I've understood a quilting retreat to be, you stay up until ungodly hours. You bring drinks of all kinds, and everybody starts sewing crazily, and things end up in all kinds of pieces. No, I'm just kidding. I mean, I have heard of some retreats. I know when I was a part of the Fort Worth Modern Quilt Guild, they had a retreat that they would do every year. And I did hear stories of people staying up until 3 a.m.
I mean, that does
sewing.
happen.
And some karaoke-esque singing happening at early hours with some liquid courage that happened and flowed during the time as well. But no, so yeah, my understanding of retreat is it's a group of people getting together, no matter if it's at an official retreat center or at an Airbnb that somebody books, right, or, you know, a house that somebody owns or something. And just getting together and spending some quality quilty time with your quilty friends.
Yeah, and I think that definition is exactly what I have experienced.
Yeah.
So, I have been to a few. I have not been to one that I have had to pay for as a professional retreat. So, I feel like retreats kind of fall into a couple of categories. I'll maybe go with 2 or 3. The first one is exactly what you described. Everybody gets together and you divide up the cost of the food and the lodging to rent the Airbnb or the retreat center or whatever it is. And you all kind of just gather there. I wanted to say convolute, but that feels like the wrong word.
That is the wrong word.
That is the word. Condense? I don't know. And I'm having a hard time finding the word now. But anyway, you all gather there. And
convene?
Convene. That's a good word. And it started with the C. But you all convene there and you work on the projects. And sometimes those projects might be UFOs. They might be works in progress. It might be a retreat where everybody's working on the same project, or everybody's working with the same fabric, or everybody's working with the same technique. It can range. But it is... At the core of it, it's what I call a private retreat, in that it is you with your quilty BFFs getting together, equally dividing up the cost. Nobody's making any money on it. Nobody's taken even a $5 cut, right? It is all spread out evenly, and you're just enjoying your time together. There is another type of retreat, though, that I call a public retreat. And I feel like this can kind of fit into 2 categories. The first one is the public retreat that is a recurring thing. Like, these happen frequently. And these are for-profit retreats in that the person hosting and putting them on is making some amount of money. It might be minimal. It might be extravagant. I don't know. It just depends on how the back end of all the books work out.
Sure.
But an example of this would be the 2 retreats that So Yeah does at their show every year. They have like 75 seats, right? And you get to go and you get to have fun, and you can take classes a la carte and add them, which I think is phenomenal. I love that idea. And they host it in their quilt shop in Las Vegas and provide transportation to and from the airport, which I think is genius.
Yeah.
I mean, what better better way to have a retreat than in a quilt shop with all that fabric and all those notions, which, by the way, genius business plan, right? Like, come on. Yeah. Hey, come to spend a retreat with us. And oh, by the way, if you want fabric, it's right over there.
Well, now, here's a question for you, because I know in Texas at Boxcar Quilts.
Yeah.
Boxcar Quilts had an event, and I don't remember if they called it a retreat or not.
Sure.
But it is one where you go in the morning, you pay a fee.
Like an open sew.
Yeah. You sew for that day, and then you leave at night.
Yeah.
Does a retreat have to have a sleepover portion
I think it kind of does.
Oh, okay.
Because, and that's just my definition, but somebody else may have a different one. So in my definition, that would be an open sew, right? That would be the same thing as having like your guild getting together.
Sure.
And just having a workshop for the day, or having like a quilting bee like we do at the library with the cabin branch quilters.
Yeah.
That's what I would call that. The retreat piece has an overnight component to it, and it's usually, because you can have virtual versions of this as well, it's usually away from your home, so you are away from distractions. You are literally going on a vacation that is focused around quilting. And so that public retreat, that for-profit retreat, like I said, it breaks into two categories. There's the ones that happen routinely. You can count them like clockwork. There's definitely a lot of fun. Stitch in Heaven does some. I think So Yeah does some, and they're always in the same place. But then there's another type of retreat that I call, dare I say, a bucket list retreat. So we have seen lots of quilters starting to come up with new and exciting quiltcations, right? And I just made that word up on the fly. So
I was like, have you?
Hi, we got balloons.
So if you're listening on the podcast apps, I'm filming with my iPhone, and there is reactions that you can do on the iPhone that cause,
I'm trying to do it again.
I know, that cause the screen to fill up with balloons or confetti or different symbols and stuff. And Becca accidentally just activated that. So if you're listening on the podcast and you heard us react, that is what happened.
Balloons came from everywhere.
Suddenly filled the screen, and it surprised both of us. But anyways.
Yep. So the bucket list ones. So an example of this to me would be Karen Brown's quilting cruises that she's doing like in Amsterdam this year, or she did in Hawaii last year. These are cruises, which are always a dream to go on. They have a quilting component to it, which is amazing. And the destinations are places that are usually like bucket list items that people are lucky if they get to just once in their life.
Sure.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
So, and for those, there's obviously a premium fee for them because it's not just getting together at a quilt shop or getting together at an Airbnb or getting together at a hotel. You're going on a cruise.
Yeah.
Right? Like there's more to it than that. So yeah, I think it kind of all goes into those three things. But at the core, regardless of whether it is a for-profit retreat, a bucket list retreat, like a once in a lifetime type of opportunity, or a friends retreat, it's quilters getting together to enjoy time away from their normal day-to-day routine and focusing on the thing that they love, playing with fabric.
Yep.
Period. And so that brings us to a really good segue, because when you guys are watching that is actually where Ian and I are going to be at a quote retreat. Mary is in town for a few weeks, and we have been planning this for months, that we are going to the lake together. There are a couple of other folks, friends from our circle, that are going to meet us there. And I am stinking excited.
Yeah.
We're all just taking our own projects, but we're going to shut out the world. We're not going to do live streams from there.
Yep.
We're not recording the podcast.
Yep.
We're not making content. We are just sewing to sew being there with our friends and probably laughing so much that we're going to lose 20 pounds.
Oh my gosh. We are going to have so much fun. Yep. I'm so excited for that.
So I'm really excited for that because I know you haven't been to one before. Yeah. So this is your first experience with what a retreat's like. So
I know.
Now I'm expecting you to be singing off key all the time.
Well, it was funny because, as president of my guild, when I was president, and again, my guild was doing a retreat.
Yeah.
But at the time, I worked Tuesday through Saturdays.
Right.
So it was really kind of difficult for me to get any weekends off. And a lot of times, retreats...
They bookend around a weekend. Sometimes even a week. Yeah.
And so it was hard for me to get a lot of time off. And so I never was able to do any of that. Although it was really funny because I will say... I was the only male member of my quilt guild, and it was hilarious because the ladies all fought over who would get me as their roommate.
Well, okay, so Bill will be here with us. He's part of our circle, right? Yes. And, I loved Bill, but I think he cemented his place in our circle of friends when we went to QuiltCon in Raleigh and the two of you shared a hotel room.
Yep.
I was like, oh, well, if he's good enough to share a room with Ian, then he can be my friend. So, and he's just hilarious anyway. But the two of you will be there. Yeah. This is my first time being at a retreat where there are guys there.
Yeah. Yep.
Which I am so happy about. Like that, it's not just a bunch of women getting together. That's how all of my other retreats are. It's all just women. It's all just women.
Yep.
And so there's no worry about, oh, I'm going to be out in my pajamas. Oh, I'm not wearing a boulder holder. Like you
over the shoulder boulder holder.
Yeah, that. Like you don't care. You don't care, right? But and I still don't care around you or Bill, but. It's taken on a different thing. So we actually, and I'm so happy that we're able to do this. So the place that we're staying at has 4, 5, 6 bedrooms, something like that. I don't remember, but only 2 of them have an ensuite bathroom.
Yep.
The master suite, which has a king bed, and then another bedroom, which has 2 twin beds. And so because I kind of orchestrated this with our friends and pulled the trigger and got everything worked out, I get to say who gets what room.
Yeah.
And so I gave Bill and Ian a room with the twin beds and an ensuite. So at least the boys get their own bathroom.
Yep. Which I'm very appreciative of.
And I'm sure the ladies are probably appreciative of too, right?
Probably, very much so.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'll be fun though. I'm excited for that. And going a half step backwards, it was funny at my guild to, for the first time in my life, say, ladies, there's no need to fight over me. It was really funny. It's
nice
quite funny
to see me, isn't it?
Oh my gosh. Oh boy.
I might have an obsession with Wicked.
I mean, toss, leg.
I have started coming up with parodies for the quilting world. We toss our hair, toss. Has become, we press our seams, press. It's a problem. Let go of my leg.
Let go of my leg.
Let go of my thread.
Oh
it's a sickness.
Anyways, no, yeah. So I'm excited for that. I'm excited for all the shenanigans that are going to take place.
There will be a lot of shenanigans.
I just, I feel like retreats are really dependent on
the personalities that are there.
Yeah, the personalities.
You got to have the right. You got to the personalities that are there are going to make it or break it, right?
Yep.
And the chemistry with the group is going to make it or break it too.
Definitely.
And so with the private retreats, you have so much more control over the chemistry because you can hand pick or hand invite or whatever. But with the public ones, it's really driven by the content and the personalities that are hosting and teaching, because that you have no control over who else is going to buy a ticket for that, right? So the host has to be on their game. They have to have the project planned. They have to be on. They have to be ready to entertain, all of those things.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
go ahead.
I'm going to entertain you all week and it won't matter.
True. Yeah. It's interesting too, because a little behind the scenes, you and I actually talked about hosting a retreat.
Oh yeah, and I think
back-
we've even talked. I've mentioned that on some of my Zooms and it just never got off the ground.
It didn't, because there's so much work that goes into them, and mad respect for any public retreat
absolutely
that does all of that, because you have to think about a location. You have to think about not just necessarily a location, but also a location conducive to people and sewing machines
and being able to get there, and then thinking about ADA compliance, and thinking about meal needs and all that stuff, and it can become a headache. I would love to plan one. So for those of you that don't know, let me just bring you up to speed. Before Ian moved to Virginia, we had kicked around the idea of hosting a retreat in the DC area.
Mm-hmm.
We were ready to do this. We wanted to rent a hotel room, get the conference center. You would have to book your own room at the hotel, or if you were local, you could just show up for the retreat fee. And we were going to do this. And we were even going to bring Leo in to teach a class. And we were going to do a couple of different classes. And it was going to be a Thursday through a Sunday thing. We had it all laid out in our mind. We even had the meals picked out because we had to use the hotel catering system. But I never pulled the trigger on it because the logistics and the risk, the financial risk that goes into this, I just don't have the time to be able to manage all of that.
Yeah.
So if I were to do a retreat, if I were to offer that up, it would have to be something where, like, I almost would, if I were planning it myself, I would almost need prepay, like 100% deposit return or whatever. And then if I have it, like Kickstarter campaign for a retreat.
Right.
Or it would have to be something where I collab with another party, like Stitch in Heaven or someone, and I show up as a personality for the retreat that's already there, which is very appealing to me because the equipment would be there, right? Like one of the advantages that So Yeah has, you don't have to bring your machine. You show up, there's a machine, there's all the notions, everything's there, right? And so that I can just start spiraling and going down that rabbit hole so quick.
There's so much that goes into them, and it almost becomes a full-time job.
Yes,
trying to put all those pieces together, because you have to worry again about food, the transportation, the people, the projects, the celebrities, everything.
Or goodness, if you are the celebrity, right? Like when people go to the So Yeah retreat, they're hoping to be able to spend some time with Brody, Zach, and T Income.
Yep, absolutely. So there's a lot of thought that goes into them, and so it's crazy to think about all the planning and all the preparation and all the things that are a part of retreats, and it makes me happy for the little bit that we're going to be doing in our little small retreat with our friends. Yep.
I'm excited for that. I am also excited for you to experience it.
Yeah.
But I know somebody out there is like, dang it, Ian and Becca, why didn't you do it? I would have gone.
I know.
I want to be on a retreat with you. I want to go. I would like to know how many of you would like to be at a retreat that we would do. Are you willing to travel for that? Like, what does that look like for you? Let us know in the comments down below if that's something you would like to see us try to figure out in the next year, 2, 3, 5, whatever it is.
That would be, I mean, like you said, we did try it a little bit. We were getting there, but I feel like we maybe were like at 50%. Like if 100% was actually like go, things were a go, we were probably about 50.
I think we were 50.
Yeah.
I was still very much like nervous about the cost, right? I wanted to, like, it was gonna, when I was looking at the price per person, and this is where I started getting into it, and I had to let go of it, and I kind of got to a place where I was okay. But I was in this place where I knew what it was going to cost per person for people to come. And that was with me not making a single penny.
Mm.
I wasn't going to make anything, but I was going to be working the whole weekend, hosting and arranging. I wasn't necessarily going to be teaching because we were going to bring Leo in and do some other things, but I was going to be there hosting. And it got to the point where I was like, first of all, I'm not getting paid to organize any of this.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just doing it to do it. And the price per head is still pretty steep. And that's before anybody's airfare.
Yeah.
Which I was okay with because people can make their own decision for where they want to put their money.
Yeah.
And I felt like even though it was a little expensive, we could have worked out payment plans with everybody.
Sure.
And so they would have been able, like, it was all there. But if somebody backed out,
mm-hmm.
I was still financially committed to that hotel, especially if they backed out last minute. And what if they backed out, we couldn't fill their spot and now we got to refund them? Or how do we handle it? Like, that was where I started spiraling. It was more about the financial risk than it was anything else. I can come up with a project. I'm happy to be there and teach. I'm happy to be there and host. I'm happy to be there, be on, and just have a good time. But when you started looking at the financial risk and thinking about my paycheck from my 9 to 5 having to cover that, I just couldn't pull the trigger.
Yeah, that's fair. Now, traditions for retreats, since I've never been on one.
Sure.
Are there traditions that happen
yes.
at retreats?
Yes. So, and again, I've only been to the private friends retreats, but everyone I've been to, there are a few things that you should always expect to look forward to. First off, quilters are givers. Quilters are givers. And so even though you may not be expecting it and you may not have brought anything, you should expect that at least some of the quilters going are making or buying something for everybody there. Okay. Happens all the time. And you and I have already talked about that, and I know you've been making some things. Sometimes those gifts can be over the top, and sometimes they are just very, very simple. For example, I'm thinking back to my Alabama retreat and some examples of some of the goodies you get from the other quilters there. One year I got a small bottle of Best Press. That's what the girl bought. She had gone on to Checker and bought a big case of the travel size Best Presses and gave everybody a bottle. Useful, right? My bottle was gone before the day was over.
Hey, it was useful then.
It was. Last year, Mary and I, for Alabama, went in on a little organza bag full of goodies. And so she picked a few and I picked a few. And so we put a small spool of Aurifil thread in there. We did 2 of those little holders that go around your bobbins to keep them from unraveling.
Oh, yeah.
We did some of those mascara brushes that you can use to clean out your machine with the glitter handles. They're really pretty. And I think there are a few other things in there too. And we even put a couple pieces of candy, I think, down in there. Okay. And so we gave everybody one little organza bag. And Mary loves to wrap and she's all about the presentation. So we had them all lined up in a box and we would take them over, pick a bag.
Oh my gosh.
So it was great.
That's awesome.
It was great. Yeah. So the quilty gifts are definitely a tradition.
Okay. All right.
Are you excited for that?
I am excited for that.
Okay.
I'm nervous because I feel like, I don't know. I just am nervous about, like, am I bringing enough? Because I know that a lot of quilters are very generous with their gifts and their things, and like I've seen messages floating back and forth, and I'm just like, I feel like I need to start a checklist of like, do I have this? Okay. Do I have this? Okay. Do I have, like, it feels a little overwhelming, to be completely honest. It can feel a little
overwhelming when you're not used to it.
Yeah.
But I think we have made a good decision because Mary's staying with me right now and we're going to go down together and you're close by.
Yep.
We have corralled to make a little goodie bag from the 3 of us. And that way it's Mary and I have both been to retreats, and so we know what to do, and we're both givers. So we're over the top, right? And so if you come in with something a little bit smaller, it gives you the ability to still experience what it's like, so for next time, and feeling like you contributed to something. So I think we came up with a great solution for you.
Yes. I appreciate the help as someone who's never been on this.
And I think your and I don't want to talk about what the contents of these gifts are, because this podcast will drop on Wednesday, which is the day that we're all checking in. And so I want everybody to be able to be surprised. Everybody that's going, I want them to be surprised. But I will tell you that I tend to go over the top. Yeah. So I don't look at what we're doing and be like, oh, everybody's going to do that level. Oh my God. No, it's okay. No.
Good.
It's
good. Good to know. Good to know.
Just like everything else, you have your givers and you have your takers and you have the people that are in between.
Sure. This isn't going to make sense at first, but I promise it will.
Okay.
On Broadway, actors.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense.
I know. Actors on Broadway, they're doing the same show 8 times a week.
Okay.
And so they will do things. For instance, I have heard a rumor that the cast of Les Mis had a candy cane, a fake candy cane. And every night they would play hot potato.
Oh.
And you would have to work it into the show so that it made sense. But you had to hand off the item to another person, because you did not want it at the end of the show. When curtain call came, you did not want to be holding the candy cane.
Got it.
Because you lost.
Okay.
Are there silly little things that happen during the retreat?
Yep.
That are... Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. Like, are there little games that you play, right? Like that. And not just games like, let's play a word puzzle.
Right.
Yes, there is. And it is different to every retreat.
Oh. Okay.
So things that are that tradition in Alabama may not have happened at the Nut House with Donna.
Oh, gotcha.
Things that might happen at the Nut House with Donna may not happen with you and I and Mary at the lake.
Right.
It depends on the chemistry of the people that are there. You end up getting these inside jokes and it becomes a thing. For example, I can't believe I'm going to say this. So, Donna has been hosting a retreat at the Nut House for a few years now. And it is largely what I would call a private retreat, except every time I go, there's a handful, 3, 4, 5 people that are new to the group. So it's largely the same people with a few scattered in that are new.
Okay.
The first time I got to join them, it was the first time I met Dahlia in person. And I don't know how it got started, but anytime somebody said something that she was just like, that's not like it turned into her responding, or no, it wasn't her. So somebody did. Somebody there started saying, "Good Lord." And so that became like the catchphrase. People were just like, "Good Lord." Okay. Like it was a thing.
Okay.
And it became the catchphrase for when you did something.
Gotcha.
You're like, gosh, I'm trying to think of another example. Oh, there's also other examples in things that are a little bit more not necessarily like inside joke or an inside tradition, but things that happen. So in Alabama, Edie, my friend Karen and Edie planned that one. Edie loves Farkle. And every single night, she and a few other quilters gather around a table and they play Farkle every night. And they that's just their thing. That's what they like to do. At the Nut House, they like left, right, center. They play that every night with Fat Quarters. And it just creates that camaraderie and that excuse to kind of just Yeah, it's
Which
fun.
I've never played left, right, center.
Oh,
so
it's
this
so
is going to
fun.
be a new
So
experience for me.
we do it a little bit differently. So
Oh.
left, right, center, traditionally, the way we play it in Alabama, I don't love as much, but it is fun. My mom won the first time we
Oh my
played.
gosh.
So you had to play with singles or fat quarters. And my mom, of course, was in it because she wanted the singles. But because she wasn't quilting at the time. So the way we play it in Alabama, it's left, right, center. So you have 3 die and you roll them left, right, or center. And if it was center, I think it was, you had to put something in the pot in the middle. And if you had left or right, you had to give to the left or give to the right. And when you had nothing else in front of you, you were out. But you had to stay at the table because until the game was over, you might pull something from the left or to the right because they got something. But you keep going until only one person has items in front of them. And then whoever that one person is gets everything that's in the middle.
Oh my.
So it's one person that wins.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
They win the pot.
They win the pot.
Oh my goodness.
They win the pot.
I'm nervous now.
But we don't play it that way.
Oh.
Because I played it this other way, another variation of it, and I liked that way better because everybody is a winner.
Oh.
Everybody gets a participation trophy. So what we do is we bring the left, right, center dice, but there is no pot in the middle.
Okay.
So you have to make eyes with somebody at the table that is directly across from you. And the two of you know you are my center person.
Okay.
And then you have your immediate left and your immediate right. And so when you throw the dice, there is a left, a right, a center, and then a dot, which means you hold. You don't have to do anything. And you throw 3 dice at a time. And so if I get, let's say, left, everybody starts out with a number of items and you have to lay it on the table so everybody can see what you have. And so if I get a left, I pick up whatever I want from my pile in front of me and I take whatever I want from what's in front of you, and you have to take what I don't want.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Yeah. So what you end up with at the end, you might not love.
Oh.
But you still walk away with something. And so what happens with our group at the Nut House, and I think is going to end up happening with us when we get to the lake, is what you bring fat quarters. We always play with fat quarters. You bring your curated fat quarters that you want to play left, right, center with. And then after every round is done, you take the ones that you're like, I am never getting rid of this one. And you stash it away. And then you play with the ones that you're like, I don't like these.
Got it.
So you progressively get the worst and the worst and the worst fat quarters. But I gotta tell you, there was a lady at the Nut House last year who hadn't played left, right, center with us. It was her first year at the Nut House. And she was so kind. So we go and sit around the table and I'm explaining the rules to everybody and we start to play the game. And she's like, well, before we start, can we all talk about what our favorite colors are? And I was like, why? And she's like, because I want to make sure I have something here that everybody likes. I was like, I love you, but that is not the point of this game.
That's funny.
So yeah, that would be a tradition.
Yeah.
And like I said, the inside jokes, they kind of just form over time.
Sure. Yeah, I can see that.
Yep.
I'm excited to see what forms out of this one.
Yeah. Okay, so Alabama. I love my Alabama retreat. So it's in this great big house that this family lives in, and the ground level, which is off of the garage, is literally like a 4-bedroom house. It's huge.
Wow.
And every day, the lady that owns it and runs it, she cooks our brunch and our dinner, and it is served in the home level of the family.
Oh,
and so we all go upstairs to this great big kitchen. We sit on the patio, we sit in the dining room, whatever, and we eat our meals. So you got to walk up this really beautiful staircase. But not everybody can walk up the steps. So they haven't installed a lift.
Oh.
Like a personal elevator.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, which is great. And so it has this. This is one of our inside jokes.
Okay.
It has a little half glass door.
Okay.
So you can see everybody that's in there.
Yeah.
And you could put 2 people in there, but they want you just to ride it one person at a time. And so when it is all the way upstairs, from downstairs, you just see the pole that holds the little thing.
Sure.
And then when it is all the way downstairs, from upstairs, the top of the elevator has a little cutout that looks just like the wood floor. So you don't really see anything other than the rails that are kind of keeping you from going over top of the elevator.
Oh, okay.
So it's really cool. A tradition in Alabama is that I always play with the elevator.
Why does that not surprise me?
I have been known to get on the elevator, and I don't need it. I can walk up the stairs. I just like to make people laugh. And so I will be upstairs after my meal is over, and I decide I'm going to go down. And so I will walk over to the elevator. I will get in, and I will press the button to go down. And as I'm going down, I'm princess waving to everybody in the dining room. But the best one was Dr. Donna, who you have met on my Zooms.
Yes, I have.
Dr. Donna is amazing, and I love her. She was upstairs, and I don't think there were very many people left. And I knew she needed to use the elevator to come down, and I wanted to surprise her.
Mm-hmm.
So I got in the elevator because it was downstairs, and I could hear her talking, so I knew she was going to call it.
Right.
So I get into the elevator, and I sit down on the floor with my knees hunched up so I could be as low as possible. I kind of looked like I was in the giving birth position. My knees were up, my legs were spread because I didn't know where else to go.
Oh my.
And the elevator comes up. And I just want to surprise her, like, hey! Except I didn't realize what I looked like until I got up there. She's like, it looks like you're giving birth. So that's funny. That's another tradition. I like to play with the elevator.
Nice. Very cool.
We also do in Alabama, there is, and I don't know if this is a tradition for everybody. I think it might be, but we do a hostess gift.
Oh, that's nice.
So Heather, she's the one that owns the place, cooks our meals and whatever. So we always, at the end, we always have a card and we ask everybody to put put a tip in for Heather. And it's usually around $20 or whatever. And so on our last day, we give her like a tip for making our meals and hosting us and just being wonderful.
Nice.
Last year, in addition to the tip, everybody made her an apron because she's always cooking.
Oh.
So she got a bunch of aprons from us.
Oh, how cool. That's really neat.
Yep. Quilters are givers.
Yeah, they are.
Yep.
They are.
I don't know what's going to come out of our group, but
laughter.
Oh,
that's what's going to come out of our group is laughter.
I will tell you, think back to what it was like when you, Tiffany, Bill, and I were at the Airbnb or the Verbo in Phoenix. And the type of camaraderie that we had and how it was fun and you were just making jokes and how you kind of started getting inside jokes. That's what's going to happen. But it's going to be on a bigger scale with more people.
Yeah. Very cool. I'm excited.
Yep. Another, sorry, I'm just coming through all of the things, right? I'm brain dumping on you. We're not doing this at our own little getaway. I just didn't have time, and I quite frankly didn't want to sign on for the challenge. However, a lot of times a retreat will come with a swap partner.
Oh, yeah.
So as you're going into it, you have somebody that you are making and or buying something for. Specifically just for that one person. And somebody has your name and is doing that as well. And it's a little different. So Nut House, Donna has given us all names with color preferences and has asked us to all make a twin size quilt with coordinating pillowcase.
Okay.
Yeah. I can see a 3-yard quilt in my future. But she's asked us to make that in our person's preferences so that we can gift it. For Alabama, it is we've all filled out these sheets that have like our birthday and our phone number and our mailing address and what we like and what we don't like and who our emergency contacts are and what our shirt size is. So if you want to pick something for them, you have something to go off of, including shirt sizes, because sometimes maybe you want to buy them a shirt. So, for Alabama, it is shop or make for the person that you drew.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily a quilt. It could be an accessory, a notion, a wall quilt. Whatever speaks from your heart to that person.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. So those are some of the traditions that I've picked up on.
Awesome.
I don't know what to expect from the ones that I haven't been at.
Yeah.
But I will tell you, one of my very favorite series of books is the Elm Creek Quilt books. Have you heard of these?
I have not.
Oh, Ian, there's like 20 books.
Oh my goodness.
It's great.
I know what I'm going to have to catch up on.
Oh, it's so good. I have all of the audiobooks. And so I listen to them on Audible. I'm listening to The Giving Quilt. It's by Jennifer Shiverini, if you're curious. I'm listening to The Giving Quilt right now. And what draws me or endears me to this series is they are novels written by a quilter. Jennifer Shiverini is a quilter. And so she kind of bakes in things about quilting that she either researched the heck out of it or she's a quilter.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It turns out from what I've heard, she's a quilter.
Oh,
right.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
That's cool.
But she writes these stories, and the central theme is around this lady, Sylvia, whose ancestors built this great big home called Elm Creek Manor. And essentially, she is widowed and she has no family left. And so she returns back. In the very first book, she returns back to her family home. She hadn't been there in like 50 years. She returns back with the intention of selling it. But what ends up happening is she decides to stay there, and she starts hosting quilt retreats out of this manor. And the vision that I have in my head of this Elm Creek Manor, they call it quilt camp. I want to go here. Like, I want it to be a real place.
It's really amazing.
Yeah. So it's like this mansion on acres of land in Pennsylvania. And it's got gardens and this and that and great big rooms. And everybody has a suite with like a bathroom in it. Like,
oh my.
I know.
Wow.
And I'm thinking, I'm in my head, I'm picturing Downton Abbey.
Right. Yeah, I can see that.
I want to go to a castle and I want to quilt. Yep. Thank you. So yeah, like I keep thinking about it, especially because I'm listening to The Giving Quilt. I keep thinking about what quilt camp looks like and feels like from the stories in the book. And a lot of that same like excitement to be away and excitement to make something, it definitely is there.
Yeah.
And you honestly end up making friends at some of these too. I know folks who have met at a retreat and have formed real life relationships with, and they are friends now. Susan O'Neill Smith and Jennifer Turney, I know you've seen them on the Zooms.
Yep, I have.
They met for the first time at a retreat.
Oh,
and now they're like this.
That's awesome.
Jennifer comes and visits Susan. They go to quilt market together. Like, they're quilty BFFs.
That's awesome. It's so cool.
Yep.
So cool.
Yep.
Cool. Well,
I'm excited.
I am too.
I know you were just going to try to end the podcast there because I heard that. And I was waiting for you to be like, finished. I think this podcast is finished, but it's not finished because I don't know. I have no idea.
Well, we actually haven't finished yet.
Oh.
Because we forgot to talk about our quilts at the beginning of this episode.
Oh, we sure did. I got really excited.
I know.
Oh my gosh. And how many people are watching 45 minutes into this and they're typing in the comments, what about the quilts in front of you?
Right.
Well, I'm glad you stayed.
Yes.
Let's answer that.
So
why don't you talk about your quilt?
Okay, so I have a quilt. By the way, if you're listening on the podcasting apps, such as Apple Podcasts, Spotify Podcast, all of the above, wherever you get your podcasts from, you can come over to the YouTube video and actually see the quilts that we're talking about. But I currently have a quilt on my lap that I did not make. This is one that one of my friends here on YouTube made for me. She posted this, I believe, in your Facebook group.
Yeah.
And it is the Yellow Rose of Texas, but it is a pixelated Yellow Rose of Texas.
I think she posted it in my Facebook group while I was doing a live stream, and so I think I shared it in the YouTube live.
I think so. And I jokingly said, "Oh, that's mine. I need that quilt because I
Texas.
am from Texas and the Yellow Rose of Texas and everything." And then shortly thereafter, she gifted it to me unexpectedly. Was not asking for it. I was totally joking about like having it. But Brenda made this beautiful quilt and she gifted it to me, and it's one of my favorite things. So Brenda, thank you for this. I still use this one frequently, and I love it. And I love the texture. It's become crinkly now that it's gone through the wash.
Yep.
And the crinkle texture, I find myself just sitting here and just rubbing on, and it's so pretty. I love it.
And I love that she focused on white, yellow, and green.
Yeah.
But at first, that's kind of what you see, white, yellow, and green, right?
Mm-hmm.
White for the background, green for the leaves, yellow for the rose. But as you start to look into the yellow and into the green, there's a lot of different fabrics there. So it's got like a coordinated, scrappy look, which I absolutely love. And one of these days, I will do a coordinated scrappy quilt.
Yeah, definitely. So, and I also love how big it is because it actually covers me.
It does. It's like 10 feet on the ground. But you said that it's crinkly. Ooh, it is crinkly.
I know. Isn't it feel great? I love it.
Oh, I love this. Dibs. So you said yours was crinkly and mine is not.
That's true.
So mine has never been washed. It is a show quilt, or at least a display quilt. Although I feel like it could be a lap quilt because it's covering me pretty good.
I know it is. It is.
So the quilt that I have on my lap in front of me is using a pattern that I wrote called Trellis Garden. I have been intimidated to work with Tula Pink fabric for a long time, and I've talked about this before. When I like a Tula Pink fabric or color, I love it. But when I don't, no amount of convincing me is going to get me on that bandwagon. I either love it or I hate it. There is no middle ground for me. For the fabric that I love, I used to not buy it because I was terrified of cutting into it. And then I saw how expensive her fabric gets after it's out of print.
Yep.
And so then I just started saying, okay, well, I like the way it looks. So even if I'm not going to cut into it, I'm going to buy it.
Yeah.
Because I'd rather pay $15 a yard for it now than $150 for it in 2 years.
Yep.
So I had a 1 yard bundle of all of the animals from Everglow, which are on this quilt in front of me. And I wanted to do something with those animal prints, but I didn't know what. And so I started thinking about, okay, well, I think what I want to be able to do, I had never fussy cut before, but I wanted to try my hand at fussy cutting. And so I thought, okay, if I fussy cut animals out of the Tula Pink yardage, how big would that square need to be? And then what can I do around the square to showcase that print and still have some movement in the overall quilt? And that's where this came in. I used Pre-Quilt to design this. I do have EQ8, but shout out to Laura from Pre-Quilt. I use Pre-Quilt almost exclusively to design any of my quilts, and then I'll jump into Adobe Illustrator and start writing the pattern. I love Pre-Quilt. Gotta check it out if you're interested. If you're looking for a software program to design with. So anyway, I plopped this into Pre-Quilt, started playing around with the layout, and I actually imported the images for the fabric print so I could see exactly how it would look. And I loved the exact image of it so much that I used that layout in this quilt. And so it's been in a couple of shows.
Yep, it sure has.
It is 100% Tula. The solids are Tula. The prints are Tula. Boom!
The back is Tula.
Yep. my backside is Tula. So
wow.
so it's I love this quilt. I love the way the colors look. I kind of spent a little bit of time to separate the warm colors and the cool colors, and then they kind of converge into the middle. But I love this one. It usually hangs on the wall in my sewing room.
It looks really nice hanging on the wall.
It does.
It really does.
It does.
It really
See,
does.
there's even a sleeve here that I sewed with Big Stitch Quilting by hand, by myself.
Yep.
Beth quilted this, by the way. So for those of you that don't know, Beth from Goody Goods, she does offer long arming services, and she did a fabulous job. She's got this swirl motif that's going from one edge to the other that kind of looks like wind is blowing over the animals.
Yeah, definitely. Sorry, this couch is eating me. I'm like sinking into the couch a little bit.
I mean, this side is eating me too.
I like if you've been watching on the video and not listening on the podcast and actually can see us, I've been like scooting up and moving around and stuff. I'm also rubbing my eyes a lot because it's pollen season and my contacts are like glued into my eyeballs right now. It's kind of terrible.
Oh gosh, and it's almost bedtime.
It is almost bedtime.
Because it's late.
Bedtime, which means
this podcast is finished.
It wasn't perfect though.
No, it's never perfect.
But it's finished.
Well, actually, it's perfect because I'm here. It's nice to see me, isn't it? Oh gosh. Anywho.
On that note, thanks for watching and or listening, everybody. We have always enjoyed we always enjoy your comments is what I was trying to say. So feel free to leave a comment in the comment section if you're over on YouTube. If you are not on YouTube and you're listening, you can
still send fan mail, apparently.
Oh?
It's a thing. I don't know. But I'll tell you what you can do. I don't know how that works. I got an email from our hosting platform that was like, you have fan mail. And it was like, hi. Like somebody just wrote, and I don't know how they did that. But what you can do on your podcasting platform is leave us podcasting. It's a word. You can leave us a review.
Yes, you can. You can leave a star review.
We appreciate 5 stars.
Right. Leave us 5 stars, please.
If you're not going to leave 5 stars, move on to the next one.
Hey, whoa.
No, I'm just teasing. But you can leave a review, and that will help others find our content as well. So definitely. We'd appreciate that if you did that.
Yep. All right.
Okay.
Sounds good.
I need to go pack.
I'm gonna go to sleep now.
What does that say? What does that say?
What? It's the
police. Okay. So I was looking at it in the screen because we have a monitor up there where we can monitor ourselves, and I couldn't make out what this middle word was. I was like, is that police toolbox? That doesn't make sense because it's a phone book. A phone box.
A phone box.
So for those of you that don't know, it says police public call box.
Mm-hmm. Yep. It's from Doctor Who because y'all know I'm a Doctor Who fan. So.
Why is it public? Anyway, whatever. Police telephone, free for the use of public. Advice and assistance obtainable immediately. Officers and cars respond to all calls. Poll to open. Okay, we're done.
Bye, everyone.
See ya!